I'm all in. I'm all in on Howie Roseman trading for Maxx Crosby. Just, what did we used to say? Hashtag, do the deal, get it done. Why not? We're going to talk about Maxx Crosby, whether they should or should not. Lots of other Eagles and football things, and so much more trending in the AM on this Football Friday. We're live in 30 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody. Welcome one, welcome all to Trending in the AM right here on the STT Sports Network. I'm live. We're live. We're here every day, Monday through Friday. Please, it's free to do, whether you're watching this live right now or on replay later today. Whether you love the content or hate the content, still hit the like button. Still share and subscribe to the STT Sports Network, setting the trends for what sports talk should be in Philadelphia. We got to 1,040. We are 60 away from 1,100. Let's push forward. Let's move on up. Let's keep leveling up here every single morning, guys. So please hit the buttons. It's free. If you're watching live, our poll question of the day: should Howie Roseman trade for Maxx Crosby? A very simple yes or no. And if you're watching this on replay, comment yes or no. Would you trade for Maxx Crosby? What would the value be? I don't know. But we're going to talk about it because the rumors are rampant. The rumors are running wild. And we're going to talk about it because that's what's trending. And that's what the name of this show is, Trending in the AM. So we're going to get into it, guys, but please hit those buttons to like, subscribe, share. I'd greatly, greatly appreciate it. Good morning to you, Robert. Hope you are well. Good morning, Duck. Max will want Max money. We got youngins to pay. Yes, what is the use of getting Max and losing Davis or Goddard, et cetera? We're going to get into all that, okay? We're going to get into all that here. As we discuss, should is the key word. Should Howie Roseman go all in? Sir, the bet's on you. I'm all in. Should they? Should he put his World Series of Poker chances at stake on this hand? Is trading for Maxx Crosby an ace-king? Pocket jacks? Or is this a 10-8 off that you're trying to get a little too tricky with? I don't know. I'm asking you the question. I'm asking you what it is. Should he do it? Now, the rumors are wild that Maxx Crosby, who will be 29, is available and will get traded. The Raiders are more willing now than ever before to move on from the star edge rusher defensive end in the NFL. He is going to be 29 this upcoming season. But yesterday in the NFL, you saw Danielle Hunter get another huge contract extension from the Texans, a one-year, fully guaranteed $40 million contract. He'll be 32 this year, 3 years older than Maxx Crosby. Obviously, a crap ton more sacks than Maxx Crosby over his career. But it goes to show that edge is different than other positions. If you're a fairly healthy edge rusher, you have a pretty long life expectancy in the NFL. And Maxx Crosby's a guy that's, for the most part, been very healthy. And some people, like Danielle Hunter, excel even more as their career matures. Right kind of where Maxx Crosby is. I was sitting here and thinking nonstop, should he or should he not pursue this? And I keep going back to last year. I keep going back to the simple fact that last year the Eagles started the season with Jaelan Hunt, Nolan Smith, and a bunch of whatnot. A bunch of nickel and dimes. And our defense struggled at first, especially getting pressure on quarterbacks. And then you had to go get Zadarius Smith. Then he retires. Then you go bring it back, Brandon Graham out of retirement. Then you got to trade a third-round pick for Jaelan Phillips. And and this and that, and it goes on and on. You go out there and get Maxx Crosby and have a front 4 or 5 for 1 year of Davis, Carter, Ajomo, Smith, Hunt, and Crosby, barring that you don't have to trade either Nolan Smith or more Ajomo in this deal. Damn, that's the best front 6 in all of football. No doubt about it. No quarterback is going to want to face the Eagles defense. And no offensive line would want to or be able to block that. No running back would be able to get through that. You got to contemplate a couple things here when talking about Maxx Crosby. You got to contemplate how wide is the Eagles' window. Are they going to be a real true contender for the next 5 to 10 years, or is their window in the 3 to 4 range? If you think their window is 10 years, then yeah, maybe you don't go out and trade draft picks that it's going to take to get Maxx Crosby. But if you think there's only a 2 or 3 or 4 more year window where you have as true title contenders in this formation of the Eagles, then you absolutely do it 100% to ensure you get one more Super Bowl with this crop of players, with this formation of the Eagles. Also determines another factor is how do you value this year's draft class? I was listening to a piece from Brian Baldinger. It was yesterday. And he talked about this year's crop of offensive linemen. And everybody wants the Eagles to use their first pick on Lane Johnson's replacement, me included, right? But summarizing what I listened to Baldy say, and Baldy's one of the best at talking offensive line, Baldy says it's not as deep and strong of an offensive line class as most years. There's a lot of good players, but there's no great players. You might draft somebody to replace Lane Johnson that can't replace him. Not that anybody could. Robert says, yes, you should trade for Maxx Crosby. I agree at this point. No, Max has missed substantial amount of time over the last few years. Has he? Let's go into this. He missed 2 games last year. He missed a bunch in 2024, 5. So he missed 5 in 24 and 2 last year. That's it, right? And I think one of those games was around the deadline where they may be holding him out. Before that, it was 17, 17, 17, 16, 16. So realistically speaking, he's only had 1 injury-prone year. And I don't think it's necessarily means that he's going to continue to – his injuries and his history does not trend towards potential, falling off a cliff. Good morning, Vasak. How you doing today? We're making it seem like there's a great possibility Max is coming to Philly just because he said something nice about Phillies. It's nuts. He will most likely go to Dallas. First and foremost, yes, Dallas is one of the teams that is interested in Maxx Crosby. And it's kind of comical to me, right? You have an elite young edge rusher in Micah Parsons. You trade so much, or you trade him away and get all these picks just to use everything you traded or got in that trade to go get Maxx Crosby. That is a total Jerry Jones thing, right? I don't want to pay Micah Parsons $30 million. I'm trading him for 2 first-round picks. I'm going to trade those 2 first-round picks to Maxx Crosby and pay him $30 million the very next year. Long live Jerry Jones, right? The Bears are heavily involved in rumors on him as well, just so you know. Good morning, Soldier Steve. How you doing? AJ to Pats for a first. Get it done, Howie. Look, you're going to see so many fake reports over the next week on AJ Brown. Make sure you check the source constantly and do not believe anything you read on Facebook at all. Period. Zero zilch. It's not happening. And if it does, it's not happening anytime soon. He's not going to Dallas. I mean, it would not shock me if Maxx Crosby went to Dallas. That is a total Jerry Jones type of maneuvering, right? I don't want him to go to Dallas. I'd much rather him stay in Vegas than go to Dallas. And you can't, as Howie Roseman, make moves solely for the fact, oh, well, Dallas is doing it. Well, all right, then we'll do it. No. That's not how you make moves. I want to make the move for Maxx Crosby because it takes our great defense to being the best defense in football like that. My issue with a first from the Pats is it's basically a second. They got to add more. You absolutely have to add more than a first-round pick. Howie Roseman is not trading A.J. Brown unless he gets a blown-away offer. A first-round pick and a third-round pick. A first-round pick and a third that could become a second. That's it. Dallas, if they get Max and Dean, that is scary. Blankenship doesn't move the bar much. Look, I'm still in the room that says Reed Blankenship needs to be brought back to Philly. He'll be cheap enough. He'll help the transition, big time. Dean, I've pretty much written Dean off. No matter how much I love Nakobe Dean, I always will be a fan of him, except for when he's in Dallas. But Max, man, Maxx Crosby to Dallas and Dean, Christian Parker would have some pieces to start with there, right? I get that. And I'm not saying I'm trading for Maxx Crosby because I'm keeping him away from Dallas. I'm doing it because I understand what it does to our team, what it makes our team, right? Makes our team pretty damn special. Good morning, everyone. What's up, Elephant? How you doing? It's what the market will bear. Well, DJ Moore went for a second-round pick, basically. How much better is A.J. Brown than DJ Moore? DJ Moore in a fifth to the Bills for a second-rounder for the Bears. You also got to understand in the A.J. Brown market that if you are trading him, K1, there's realistically only two teams Howie will even negotiate with because, well, a lot of teams might want him, but there's only two teams in the AFC that would really want him, and that would be the Pats and the Ravens. So now the Bills are off the table because they got DJ Moore. You want a first and a third, but you only got the Pats and the Ravens. So unless AJ says you are taking me off this team, or else the odds are he's staying. AJ's staying. That's in another delusion. It will cost a ton. It will. Nobody is giving a first. I think a team, if the cap hit wasn't the problem that it is for A.J. Brown on the Eagles side of things, that a team would have offered a first by now and Howie would have accepted it. I do. DJ Moore is a very nice wide receiver. Very good wide receiver. He isn't in A.J. Brown's stratosphere. I don't even know if he's in Devontae Smith's league yet, ever. He's not a top 20. He's in that 20 to 25 range in wide receivers. And I looked at the stats. I was shocked at how many catches he's had. But I don't know if DJ Moore in Buffalo as a number one is going to be the difference maker that A.J. Brown would have been. A.J. Brown is not going anywhere because they can't more than a third. Yeah, look, I get it. Trade for Max if you want to win the Super Bowl. If you want to be eliminated the first round, stay put. Mister, you're spot on. You go trade for Maxx Crosby because you want to keep this every other year going to the Super Bowl thing. If you want to get to the Super Bowl, you go get Maxx Crosby. If you want to get to the Super Bowl in 2028, you keep that pick and you draft Lane Johnson's replacement. Maybe he's good, maybe he's not. Trading for Maxx Crosby, keeping A.J. Brown, they're all-in moves. I'm winning. I'm doing everything in my power to make sure we continue to be the front runner in the NFC for the Super Bowl. That is what you're doing with Maxx Crosby. What would it cost to get Maxx Crosby? It's going to cost you a first-round pick this year, right? In what's considered not as strong of a draft class. It's a good draft class. There's a lot of good players, but there's not a lot of elite players this year. So you're trading your first-round pick. You're probably trading a third-round pick next year. Maybe a third with a conditional second next year, like a condition to get to a second next year. You're probably trading Nolan Smith or Moro Ojomo in that deal. Yes, it means you cannot give Jalen Carter his extension this offseason. You got to pick up his fifth-year option and wait till next year to discuss that. But having Maxx Crosby makes Jalen Carter's job easier. Having Maxx Crosby makes Alex Hunt's job easier. Jordan Davis's job easier. If Nolan Smith was here, his job easier. You preserve Jalen Carter a little bit. He might not have to face triple teams every single play. Maxx Crosby is a difference maker, a major difference maker. It's the payment that comes with AJ, big difference in DJ Moore. Absolutely. Absolutely. Agree with you on that. Pats have been thirsty for AJ Brown since they hired their enterprise car agent as a head coach. Yes, I like that. Enterprise rent-a-car. I spent 2 weeks in 2005, late 2004. I think it was late. Yeah, it was like November 2004. It was right before I went on my first date with my wife. November 2004, I worked for 2 weeks for Enterprise Rent-A-Car in their management program. The worst job I've ever had. The only job in my life I never gave more than 2 weeks to see if I liked it. Literally the worst job I ever had. I would demand an unreasonable haul for A.J. Brown, absolutely. It's supply and demand. The Patriots want A.J. Brown beyond belief. The Eagles have him. You want him? Ante up. Rebuy. You better max buy into this table game if you want A.J. Brown. You're not buying into a 2-5 poker game with $200. You better bring the full 1K to the table or you're not even sitting. On the flip side, the same thing applies in the Maxx Crosby thing. You're not going to get Maxx Crosby cheap. If you want Maxx Crosby on the Eagles, you've got to be willing to part with something. And probably something pretty significant, right? It's not going to be cheap. You are giving up your first-round pick and more. I know some reports say 2 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's a first this year, a third or a second next year, and a young player. And while I keep throwing Nolan Smith into the equation and people keep crushing me saying how great Nolan Smith is, I don't think Nolan Smith has really proven to be worth the first-round pick he was, but he's under a rookie deal for 2 more years. And I think there is value there, right? The big question mark is, can Nolan Smith stay healthy and progress to earn that? We all know after 3 years we were calling Brandon Graham a bust. You know, we're 3 years into Nolan Smith. That's why I'm not calling him a bust. Just saying he hasn't lived up to the hype yet, okay? But it's going to cost you a first in Nolan Smith this year and either a second or a third next year. Hopefully you convince him to put some conditions on that second draft pick. And if that's what it costs, sign the paperwork. I'm docu-signing. It's more of a docu-sign than a physical signature, right? I'm doing it. No questions asked. Crosby will be very expensive, Robert. Very expensive. And he's on a contract that's paying him $30 million a year, right? Yeah, it's going to cost you something. It's going to mean not only is Dean gone, Goddard's gone, everybody's gone, right? It means you might have to move on from someone else somewhere else, right? I don't know who. You might have to get really cheap somewhere else on this team. But it's a win-now statement move. And Howie's not been afraid to make these kind of decisions and moves to give the team the best chance to win a Super Bowl. How he sees the window, how he sees the writing on the wall, how he knows because of, I think how he knows he's put himself in a financial pickle, right? That is going to make this Super Bowl window shrink a little bit, right? He's gotten too good at his job, and now the Piper's coming to get paid, right? Not this year, not next year, but soon. So you make the move now. You get one more Super Bowl now. You do everything you can to make sure you can get that one more Super Bowl now. Maxx Crosby does that. You look again at Daniel Hunter, $40 million guaranteed 1-year extension. Edge is the premier position in football. It's quarterback and edge rusher and left tackle. unless you got a lefty quarterback, then right tackle, right? It's your tackle, it's your edge, and your quarterback. 3 most important positions in football. And one of the top 5 most premier at the position is available for a trade right now. So you make the move. You get the job done. You do the deal. No matter the cost. Whether you renegotiate his contract when he gets here, you stretch out. I mean, I think he's got 2 more years at like $30 million each. I was listening to somebody else. I forget who it was yesterday. And they were breaking down contract rules and stuff like that. And I heard them say something. He's got something like that they can the Raiders could, in theory, renegotiate his contract to take on the 30, like they could turn his salary next year into a signing bonus now, so that it lowers the cap hit this year. So they give him they renegotiate his deal. They turn his $30 million dead cap hit, or his cap hit, into a bonus. Then he only counts for like $1 million against our cap this upcoming year. Something weird like that, right? That might make his value 2 first-round picks and Nolan Smith. And I would do that as well. If the Raiders are willing to eat some money in a renegotiation of his contract, damn straight I would give 2 first-round picks for him. I think it's crazy. Cray. If anyone out there would say no to Maxx Crosby. Now, Maxx Crosby does put a wrinkle in the Jalen Carter, Moro Jomo, Nolan Smith, Alex Hunt long-term future, right? Does signing trading for Maxx Crosby, does that mean you eventually got to trade away Jalen Carter? Maybe it does. But I'm just curious. I'm not saying you're trading Carter for Crosby. But I'm curious. What is a better front 4? Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Alex Hunt, Nolan Smith, or Moro Jomo, Jordan Davis, Alex Hunt, and Maxx Crosby. So substituting a Jomo for Carter and substituting Nolan Smith for Crosby. Which side is better? I would argue that having the upgrade from Smith to Crosby is a bigger deal than the downgrade from Carter to Moro Jomo. And I only bring that up because financially speaking, a Jomo and Davis will both be in the $20 million range for their next contract. Carter's going to be in the $40 million range. Not talking about it. Not at all, true speak. Not saying Jalen Carter. I don't want to get rid of Jalen Carter. I do understand the ugly truth, right? You can turn this shit off if you want. Cool. Or you can have a conversation. Because what this channel is about conversations, not bashing. All opinions are valid or are discussable on this show. Okay? We're talking Maxx Crosby. And should the Eagles make a big trade for Maxx Crosby? And what does it do short term and long term? You like the conversation? Great. If you don't, cool. Whatever. It is what it is. Hit the dislike button 3 times. I don't care. If you don't want to have a conversation, then this isn't for you. This channel isn't for everybody. Okay? Because we're not talking about Jalen Carter trading. You speak the truth according to your name. You're actually not speaking the truth. All you're willing to do is have your opinion, and that's it. You're not open to different ideas and different thought processes. So you know what? I don't care. Like it, don't like it, subscribe, don't, whatever. I'll have a conversation with one person. 8 people, 1 person, or on a good day, 20 or 30. You do you, I'll do me. You must be real fun at parties. K1, you tell them what the deal is, right? Yeah. Truth, you're talking about your... Whatever. I know, noobs. Whatever. You can't win them all. Where's Kellen Moore when you need him? The dreaded out-of-the-door dislike move. I know. Oh, it's like being, like, I don't know. I used to be big on Facebook. And people used to go into, like, a Facebook group and say, I'm just coming here to tell you I'm leaving this group because it's stupid. Well, then just leave. Nobody cares, right? True speak on that BS. Don't let the, exactly, whatever. Yeah, doesn't the dislike button still get you? It does. It still helps the engagement and the algorithm, okay? Because the dislike button isn't a bad thing. It just means you don't like the topic. It's so funny. You have to get, you've got to calm down. Primo edge rushers don't move the needle. How many playoff games has Crosby, Garrett? And that's fine. And that's what we're trying to have this conversation, Keith. You know, Truth Seeker thinks it's a dumb conversation, but, you know, whatever. I'm asking the question. I said 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, as many times you want. What's the value of an edge, right? What's the value of an edge position? You're saying it doesn't move the needle. And Crosby, Garrett, Henda, they haven't won playoff games. First off, you got to understand. Actually, Hendrickson might have won some because he was with the Bengals when they went to the Super Bowl, right? The Browns are just a terrible organization. The Raiders are just a terrible organization, right? But to me, a premier edge rusher can win you a Super Bowl. Can be the difference. In my opinion, it's top 3. It's quarterback, it's edge, it's offensive line. You can piggyback tackle or edge. What's more important? But to me, it's one of the most important positions. To me, an elite edge is more important than an elite defensive tackle. Engagement's all that matters. That is it. He went to the Super Bowl. He was on the Bengals the one year they went to the Super Bowl. I don't remember whether they had a first-round bye or not that year, so I'm not sure how many playoff games he's had. Why do people get – I don't know. Why do people get so defensive when people criticize Jalen Hurts? I don't know. I don't think anybody's criticized him here yet today. Not yet. I don't know. To me, why I get upset when people criticize Jalen Hurts is because they don't criticize him, okay? They don't say, look, Jalen Hurts does this good and this bad. He needs to improve on this, all right? When people criticize Jalen Hurts, Mitchie Poo, 9 times out of 10, it's, I'll take Kyler Murray or Tua over him because they're way better. It's Brock Purdy's 100 times better than Jalen Hurts. There's not much substance when people criticize, okay? What was WIP's poll question of the day yesterday? Instead of all the things going on, they're talking about, should Jalen Hurts be the long-term answer at quarterback for the Eagles? People don't criticize Jalen Hurts. They make negative statements for clickbait things. I'm open to conversations. I understand Jalen Hurts had a down year. I understand Jalen Hurts has flaws. And if you want to have a logical conversation about Hurts, I'm okay with it. I know you think it's going to be a shit show next year. I know that. I don't think it will be. I think there's way too much talent on this team for it to be a shit show. With Howie Roseman as GM, everything is on the table. I think that's accurate. I think that's very accurate, elephant in the room. I think trading A.J. Brown, while not likely, while near impossible, it's on the table. Trading for Maxx Crosby is on the table. I suggested it 2 weeks ago. Trading Moro Jomo is on the table. Howie Roseman's success has backed him into a corner where some really tough calls are going to have to happen. But also, your Super Bowl window is still there. And going out and getting Maxx Crosby, which would create even more problems down the line, keeps that Super Bowl window, or makes that Super Bowl window this year much better. I know you do. I'm glad you do. What's up, Little G? How you doing today? What did you say? I didn't say anything. I suggested that because so many people don't like the Maxx Crosby Eagles trade idea, that there's going to be, if you do like it, there are downsides to it. And you might lose somebody else. You might not be able to pay Jalen Carter this offseason. And then I suggested, what's a better front four? Carter, Davis, Hunt, and Smith, or Ojomo, Davis, Hunt, and Crosby. That if you flop out of this defense, Carter and Crosby, which defense is better? And he got so offended. because he thought I was saying I want to trade Jalen Carter. I don't want to trade Jalen Carter. I don't think it's the crazy. People want to trade Jalen Hurts or cut Jalen Hurts. That's not a big deal. But God forbid I say anything about Jalen Carter. I don't care. Don't talk shit on Jalen, Mitch. Phil will tell. It's not about talking shit. You want to have a critical, fair, open-minded conversation. I'm all for it. But just saying he sucks when the record and the success of this team says he doesn't. You can't win with him. Well, clearly they have. We didn't even know the MF existed. He just popped in, said he's leaving. Exactly. Yeah. I didn't bring up trading him. I said that would be one of the side effects potentially down the line if you did trade for him. So I want to trade for Maxx Crosby, but I was giving him a reason to argue not to trade for Maxx Crosby. And instead, he was like, oh, I hate you. Dip. Dislike dip. Cool, man. No hair off my back, and there's plenty of hair back there. I would much rather be strong up the middle if I had a choice. And that's a fair question. That's a very fair, I think, conversation. See, here's the thing. We have been strong up the middle for a while. We've developed strong up the middle for a while, right? We have struggled on the outside since, 2022. We've had a very inconsistent pass rush for the last couple years. Was it 22 or whatever year we had like 70-some sacks? We've been piecing together the edge for so long now. We pieced together the edge in 24, and it worked out perfectly fine, right? We had the great up in the middle, and we pieced together the edge. It worked out. So that's 2-1, that having a stronger defensive tackle is more important than a stronger edge. I've never disrespected Christian Bezuidenhout, unless that guy that dipped was Christian Bezuidenhout burner count. TGI Friday, I can't wait to finish work so I can go home and do nothing the entire weekend, unless my wife makes me do something. Yeah, I still got 2 more days. Well, 2.5 more days. I got my nieces and nephew this week for my sister until Sunday afternoon. Luckily, my wife's getting them off to school and spending the night at the house. I got the dogs, but then I got to go pick them up and take them home after school every day. It's something. For a guy that has no kids, have 3 kids, even part-time for 5 days, I'm stressing. I can't wait for Monday. Brady is highly involved in the decision-making in the Raiders organization. If you think they'll just shit the bed after last season, no way. They'll keep all the good players. I think that's an interesting one. I've never really contemplated much about the effect that Tom Brady has as a minority owner in Vegas with the Raiders. I don't think he's really done much yet to turn that organization around. I only think he's been there a year or maybe 2. I'm not even sure. Look, the Raiders aren't giving away Maxx Crosby for nothing. There's going to be a bidding war for Maxx Crosby, where if you want A.J. Brown, however unlikely it is, if you want A.J. Brown, you're only bidding against Howie Roseman, right? And maybe one other team. There's going to be 5, 6, 7 teams. If Maxx Crosby gets traded, you're going to hear 5, 6 different teams highly involved in the trade rumors for him. Can the addition of Maxx Crosby allow Carter to bounce back year and possibly help him get more money? Yeah. Like, let's talk about it. Nooms just talked about the shoulder issues and the why on the push-off for Jalen Carter, fighting through double and triple teams every time, playing 95% of the snaps. And, maybe he's got degenerative shoulders, maybe not. I don't know. But you get Maxx Crosby, all of a sudden Jalen Carter doesn't face a triple team every single play. He doesn't face a double team every single play. You got to double Max. Because if you double Carter, Maxx Crosby's running free one-on-one. And I don't think there's too many tackles in football that can stop Maxx Crosby outside of Lane Johnson, who would be on our team. Pay Nakobe Dean, get me a better corner too, and get the offense working. I'd rather spend big money on the O-line than get Crosby. Okay, so there's a lot of things to digest here, right? Pay Nakobe Dean. And then what do you do with Jahad Campbell and Zach Bond? You can't pay 3 linemen or middle linebackers, right? I guess in theory you can move Campbell to the outside. I guess. But I've settled the unfortunate fact that Nakobe Dean will not be here. Cornerback 2, you're not going to get much better than Adoree Jackson, okay? You're not. You're not paying a third cornerback big money. You've got Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. There's no such thing as a team that has 3 big-time cornerbacks, right? There just isn't. You get 2, okay? You've got 2. So you're either going to keep Adoree Jackson or you're going to find another Adoree Jackson out there. And that's just the simple fact of the numbers, okay? You can't have 3 elite edge rushers. Now, spend big money on the O-line. You can't spend big money on the O-line. You've got your 5 starters locked and loaded. Now, you could spend in the draft on the offensive line, and you wouldn't be able to do that if you got Maxx Crosby. You can go get your Lane Johnson replacement in the first round, but not if you go get Maxx Crosby. So if you want to choose getting Lane Johnson's replacement over Maxx Crosby, that's fine. I brought it up in the early cold opening of the show. I was listening to something from Brian Baldinger, who's one of the best at breaking down O-line footage there is, that he said there's a lot of good O-linemen in this draft. There's not too many, if any, great O-linemen. So is this the year to even get Lane's replacement? You need it, but can you this year? So that's that. I answered all those, my opinions. What's up? What did you say? I already went over it 3 times. He rage quit. Yeah, instead of rage baiting, he rage quit, basically. This franchise is not immune to a shit show. You can see the foundation cracking. The question is how they're going to address it. Yeah. I mean, the foundation of this franchise is cracked at times. The gold standard happened. The Chip Kelly era happened. I get annoyed when people criticize Hurts for dumb reasons. You're just complaining. People that criticize Jalen Hurts for dumb reasons, they do it because their original reason was wrong, right? Whatever their original reason for criticizing him in 20 or 21 or even in college, they were wrong. They couldn't admit they were wrong. So they just come up with dumb reasons to complain. You want to have a real logical conversation? I could do that. I could take the blinders off. Every team is potential shit show. Look at it's true. It's fair, K1. Very fair. The guy dipped, and now we're up to like 19 people watching instead of the 8. I'm talking with 19 people instead of 8 now. Little did he know that his negativity boosted the algo. Now we're over 20 people watching. There should be over 20 likes, share, subscribe, guys. We're up to 1040, 60 away from 1100. Let's go. Let's prove to that guy, the truth seeker, that this show is better than he realizes by hitting those buttons. Jalen will give you a speech that will make you want to work harder and together. Yeah. Maybe it was Duck's burner. I don't know. I don't think Duck would be that harsh. Which bring up my live Manscaped stream idea. What? Because I made the hair. Yeah. Anyway, I'm all for Max. I'm all in. I deal with the later, right? The cracks are starting to show. You might only have a couple more years with a real legit chance of winning the Super Bowl with this core group. It's getting older, the offensive line. You go out and you ensure yourself the best chance to win a Super Bowl. You do what it takes. Hashtag do the deal. Done. The Edge just has way more responsibility in a Fangio system than other systems. Think about the Devils hockey players in the high sex. See, I think Maxx Crosby is a level of talent that's above a system, to be honest with you. Yeah, they don't get a lot of high sacks in the system, but I think it's possible with somebody like Maxx Crosby. I do. But I think I think this argument is the best argument to make against Maxx Crosby. Would he fit? Would Vic Fangio be willing to pivot enough, right, from what he likes to do? You're not dropping Maxx Crosby into coverage 7-8 times a game. You're just not doing that. Will he pivot? I don't know. I don't think bringing Maxx Crosby in here would have the same negative effect on Maxx Crosby's career as, say, a Bryce Huff did. Patrick Ellis and other forwards numbers are lower overall, but they got 3 cups. I want a title, 16. But we were up to 21 watching, so there should be over that now. Guys, hit that like button. No doubt in my mind, Brady's just working as the analyst so he can steal every team's playbook. He is actually, I learned this last year, Mister, about halfway through the season, that he is not allowed to sit in on production meetings. So Tom Brady's got the best job in the game. He's a part owner of the Raiders. And he only has to show, like most people, like if you're the Fox announcers for an Eagles game, you show up 3 days. You go to the Friday practice, you meet with players, you prepare, you do this, you watch this and that. No, Brady's not allowed to do anything. Brady just shows up on Sunday and says, "Yep, give me a mic. Hey, let's talk some football." He's not allowed to be in on those production meetings. I personally put Campbell on a rocket to the moon. There's far too much hate for Jahad Campbell after 1 year. Keith, I'm not saying he's going to be the next big thing. I'm not saying I'm 100% sure he's going to live up to the first-round hype. But, man, you can't give in or give up on a player after 1 year. A guy that missed part of training camp because he was banged up, that just got outplayed by a better linebacker in Nakobe Dean. I don't know. I can't get behind the let's just move on from him. Now, if you want to include him in a trade for Maxx Crosby and then retain Nakobe Dean, you might spark my interest. Whether or not Eagles pay Dean will tell you how they feel about Campbell. Absolutely agree with you. It has nothing to do with him maybe going to the Dallas Cowboys. It has everything to do with what they feel about Jahad Campbell and maybe about Zach Bond as well. I mean, let's not forget Zach Bond is 30 years old, or he'll be 31 maybe this year, whatever it is. He's getting up there in age. There's no doubt about that. So maybe there's something to that, but I agree with you on that. I don't think they get Lane's replacement if he is going to sit for a year. I think they wouldn't be afraid to do that, Big Al, because he might not sit for the whole year anyway. If you're getting Lane's replacement, you're also getting your backup for the time Lane misses, and Lane misses time in games and throughout the season. It gives you an option, especially if they can play both sides, if Jordan Mailata misses some time. I don't think they wouldn't get it, your draft Lane's replacement, because he might have to sit. I think it would actually be the smarter thing to do. Get it now so you have a higher level backup at a cheap price than that. I'll also say this. We're talking about trading our first-round pick for Maxx Crosby. I'm not out of the realm of possibility of trading back out of the first round either if I'm Howie. If this is not a super deep draft, you're up against it. That number one overall, that first-round pick costs you a lot more money on the cap than a second-round pick. Do they even just sell their first-round pick? I don't know. I criticize Hurts because he's a modern-day quarterback, and all the modern-day quarterback outside of Prime Mahomes is a spoiled brat. See, and I think that's a bad reason to criticize. I don't think Jalen Hurts is a spoiled brat. I think, if anything, he's the complete opposite of a spoiled brat. I love Dean, but bringing him back will stunt Trot Jr.'s growth. And Smile, let's not forget about Smile Mondin, right? Don't forget about Mondin or whatever his name is. I think they spent a lot of money at linebacker. I think Nakobe Dean is unfortunately the casualty of that. All you have to do is hit, don't recommend this channel, but that would have required logical thinking. That guy is just one of those guys that just believes that the WIP style is the way to go. Yell and scream, hate on people for differing opinions, not listen to the whole comment, listen to a little 3-second clip, and then get pissy. I'm over it. I forgot all about it. I was focused on the comments. If you guys all get what you want, Phil's live demonstration. No. Nobody's ever getting that, okay? True Speak sounds remarkably close to True Spike, no? Maybe it is. I mean, I have bashed Spike enough times, right? The Nepo boy in the afternoons. I've bashed him enough, maybe. Maybe that's what it is. I might be an old guy screaming at the clouds, but F it. Hey, we all are at some point, right? True Speak was an old angry guy screaming at clouds. With the Raiders selecting Mendoza, they'll make sure all the chess pieces are in order. Yes! But what do you need the most when you draft a quarterback in the first round? What do you need most after drafting your franchise quarterback? You need somebody to protect him, right? So getting the Eagles pick 23 and drafting your left tackle to protect Mendoza? Doesn't that make a little sense? Just saying. Brady's not allowed to sit on the production meeting, so he can't steal what to expect and where the cameras are going to be pointed. Does explain why Fox broadcast hasn't been good this last season. Maybe. I just value constant edge, contain, and pressure up the middle than edge flash. It's just how I'm wired. And that's fine. I get that. And to an extent, I agree with that because I love the trench warfare. I love, don't clip this out, but big, meaty men slapping it together, in the interior of that defense and offensive line. I love it. I know that's going to really go over well in the comments. It'll just help the algorithm more. But an elite edge does put you above other teams in the NFL. And getting Maxx Crosby doesn't mean you're not going to have that great D-line in the middle. You're not trading Carter to get Maxx Crosby. You're not trading Jordan Davis to get Maxx Crosby. You're trading picks and one of your other edges to do that. I know Mitchie Poo's going to clip that comment I made out. I guarantee it. I expect Mitchie Poo to clip that segment out and then do a video on his segment making fun of me for saying that. I saw what I saw. I don't want a linebacker that avoids violent confrontations. Take him while GMs think he can play. Was he afraid to take those violent confrontations, or was he still just learning and didn't know what was expected of him in the system? That's what you've got to determine. Was he afraid to, take those confrontations, or was he just hesitating? He hadn't caught up to the speed of the game yet. Okay? There's a difference between college ball and pro ball. Sometimes it takes a few years to adjust to the speed difference in the game. And I don't personally know which one it is. If I was the GM, I would offer Dean a team-friendly contract. I would not get in a bidding war. Yeah, look, I'm sure Howie's already talked to Dean and Dean's representation. I'm sure he knows what it'll take. I don't think he will go to what it'll take. And I don't care what anyone thinks, Duck. Brady's word counts in that organization. No one's saying it doesn't count in that organization. We were just talking about how Brady's, broadcasting doesn't interfere with it or whatnot there. Right now, I might trade a first and each brand new indestructible body part damaged on Dickerson and Jergens. Yeah. What's up, Rick? Good morning to you. Do you believe the trade of DJ Moore with value Chicago got for him, does it help or hurt the Eagles' chances of trading A.J. Brown? The value does not change it, okay? The biggest aspect of the DJ Moore trade, in my opinion, was that Chicago made with Buffalo, is it eliminates one of the teams that could have been in on A.J. Brown, right? Howie Roseman has not openly been quoted as this, but been anonymously quoted on saying he will not trade A.J. Brown in the NFC. All right? He doesn't want to have him in the NFC in his way to get to a Super Bowl, right? He'll only trade him to the AFC. In my mind, there were three teams that would trade for him: the Bills, the Ravens, and the Patriots. They're the only three teams that it would really make sense to part with a first-round pick and whatnot, right? Now one of those are gone. Now you've only got two teams, right? So the Howie Roseman going to New England and saying, well, Buffalo and Baltimore are offering this, you got to up your game. Now all these guys like, well, Baltimore's offering this, New England, you better add more. It hurts the competition for him. That's how I think it affects it the most. How can anyone say Hurts is a pissy brat? He is one of the most cementing. Yeah, exactly. If anything, his personality, his leadership ability is his best trait, right? He's a good quarterback that's elite because of his attitude, his personality, his leadership skills. His intangibles take an average quarterback and make him great. You can have a great quarterback with bad intangibles. They're not going to win jack shit. But if you got an average quarterback with great intangibles, that makes you a better quarterback. I'm hoping, Mitchie Poo. I'm waiting. DJ Moore is definitely someone could have played here in a world post-big trade. Is definitely someone could have played here in a world post-big trade. Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. That's getting clipped and leading your best of clips one day. Yeah, somebody's gonna find that 10 years from now, right? Big meaty man. you're going to make it harder to keep Carter and Davis if you pick up Crosby because of his salary replacement requirement. It might even stunt you from extending Hurts ahead of the next big. So no. See, you extend Hurts to free up money for Crosby. You extend Davis to free up money. You pick up Carter's fifth-year option to see if those shoulders are not degeneratively problem or not. You might lose either Moro Jomo or Jalen Hunt long-term, but I don't think it hurts the Davis-Carter situation, Maxx Crosby. Okay? If you cut Zach Bond after the season, it's only a $9 million cap hit for 27. That money we could use. I mean, what is Zach Bond's longevity in the NFL at his age already? I'd like to think, in theory, the fact that he was a late bloomer, he might not have as much wear and tear, and maybe he'll be still pretty solid, at 32, 33 years old. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much longer Zach Bond's got. Do you believe that with the change of O-line coach that the Eagles will be drafting different style O-linemen as far as build and body size? Absolutely, 100%. Talked about this with Ed Kratz a few weeks ago on the show. And literally the day after Chris Cooper got hired, that we've got this great offensive line in theory, but we're running a completely different scheme now, right? Completely different, right? So you've got to figure out what that scheme is this year with what you've got, and then pivot maybe next year if need be, right? For sure. I am say Fox's broadcasts have not been good. I think Brady not sitting on the broadcast because of them to go back basic presentations. Brady talks Raiders jump. We all know it. Yeah. Look, I love it when you guys are all saying hi politely in the chat. Personally, would rather re-sign Phillips and keep our draft picks instead of chasing Crosby. And I think that's a definite thing. So here's the thing now. I also want to know what Crosby is going to cost if you had to renegotiate his contract. What's Jaelan Phillips going to cost? When you see Danielle Hunter get a 1-year, fully guaranteed $40.1 million extension, what does that mean Trey Hendrickson, who's a free agent's worth? What does that mean Jaelan Phillips got? Like, I was projecting 20 to 25 mil a year for Jaelan Phillips. Some people said I was projecting too high. Now, Phillips has got injury history. Phillips doesn't have the big sack numbers, but the big analytic numbers. How much is it going to cost you to keep Phillips? I don't know. The contracts on edges are just insane sometimes. You can have a good O-line, but they have to fit what your coaches want to do. Absolutely. And we don't even know if we have a good O-line or not, Nooms. And that's still, to me and you, the biggest question mark that should dictate all these conversations we're having, all these questions we have about everything. If our O-line is shit and needs to be rebuilt after next year, who gives a shit, right? So that's another reason why I go get Maxx Crosby. Because if our O-line is shit, and after 26, we've got to rebuild it, right? To fit the scheme and because of injured players, retiring players. We just saw what's his name retire at 27 years old. Landon Dickerson might not be far behind. If you got to strip down and restart the O-line all over again, you might as well go get Maxx Crosby right now, win a Super Bowl now if you can on the backs of your defense, and figure out the rest later. You might have to go through not a rebuild, but a retool year or two. Anyway, that rebuild year or two will feel awfully better with another Super Bowl trophy in our trophy case, right? Feel a lot better with it. Danielle Hunter. No, it's Danielle Hunter. It'll always be Danielle Hunter, okay? If it was Danielle, why didn't they spell it Danielle, okay? It's Danielle, and that's it. And you can't convince me I'm wrong on this pronunciation. It will always be Danielle Hunter. His parents named him after a girl. Plain and simple. Did the Chicago Center opt back in because of the high amount of money he'd owe back? No, there was a guard. I thought it was a guard that retired. Maybe it was a center. Did he change his mind on it? I didn't see that. I thought he retired. Who did Dickerson replace? No, wasn't Wisnowski before that? It wasn't Brandon Brooks. It was Sayamalu he replaced. Landon Dickerson, right? Sayamalu was the last guard before Dickerson. Before that, it was Brooks. Before that, it was Wisnowski, right? Good Polish name, Wisnowski, right there. Look at that. Guys, I'm caught up on the I thought I was commenting. Caught up, then three more popped up. Two more popped up. I respect Jaelan because of Phil, but to say top five, look, I thought he was a top five quarterback. He didn't play like a top five quarterback this past year, right? He didn't. He's still a top 10 quarterback in my mind. You can't convince me there's 10 better quarterbacks in the NFL than him. All right, you just can't. Bad O-lines don't win Super Bowls. We don't know if they're bad or not. We don't. Sam Alou was such a good mid-round pick. He did. He worked out. When Jalen got that starting job, they secured everything around him to level never seen before. He's a brat. Imagine McNabb. Stop. So he's a brat because the team did what a team should do. Build around your franchise. Stop. Anyway, we're finally caught up on the comments now. 55.51 minutes into the show. Caught up on comments. Not bad. We've had a lot of fun today already. We've already seen the trolls coming and going. But whatever, guys. Not enough yet. But hit the like button if you have not. This is Trending in the AM. Live or on replay. It does help. Share this out. Subscribe. We're starting today at 1,040 subscribers. 60 away from 1,100. Let's go. Let's get to 2,000 before. Let's set the goal of 2,000 subscribers before the season kicks off. A little over 900 in the next 5 months. Can we do it? It's a crazy number to reach for, but why not push for it? Let's go. It takes you guys to do that to help me out here. Would greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. I don't think that's a reason to call him a brat, but rather call Joe Banner a dope. Exactly. I think that's a more accurate thing right there. Rick bringing Flyers hockey, and again, pardon me for saying, I cared about the Flyers and then not watching much Flyers hockey this year. I tried to let them back into my life, and I just couldn't do it. Today is the NHL trade deadline, right? Yes, the Flyers are, 6 points out of the last wild card spot, when before they were in the division spots. They weren't even in wild card. They have fallen back. Do you want the Flyers making a big move or not today? Sellers, buyers, stand pat. I think it's too early to move on from Rick Tocchet, though. I do. I really do. I didn't think Rick Tocchet was the right choice to begin with. I thought you get a Rick Tocchet not during, just like I didn't want Tortorella. Tortorella and Tocchet shouldn't be rebuilding coaches. They're the type of coaches that take a playoff team over the top, in my opinion, with their expertise, with their personalities and their experience. But I think you got to give Tocchet at least one more year before you talk about that. Give Jalen Travis Fulgham. Yeah, and maybe we might not win as many games. Maybe we will. There's no way to tell. But we give Josh Allen the excuse, well, he can't win because he doesn't have elite talent. And that's his excuse. Everybody that hates Jalen loves Josh Allen, right? It's an excuse. Josh Allen can't win because of the talent. But Jalen Hurts, you can hate on him because he's got talent. It's the biggest double standard in sports. You criticize a quarterback for having too much talent, but give them an excuse when they don't have talent. And that is what the main reason why I stand up for Jalen Hurts so much is because of the criticism he faces based around double standard opinions. You could have stuck the freaking token behind that Eagles line, and they would have won the Super Bowl. I do not agree with that. I do not agree with that at all. I really feel bad for Coots. He really doesn't deserve this. I still, to this day, do not understand how Sean Couturier is not 47 years old. I feel like I've watched him play in the orange and black for literally 25 years now. And I know he's been in the league a long time. And I know he came into the league at a pretty young age. My God, that dude is just, he just never stops. Flyers need to try to win now. This team needs a taste of playoff hockey that will help the rebuild more. I agree with this so much, not just for the Flyers, but for any team, really. In any sport that's been losing for so long, you want your young rebuilding team to take, even if you get swept in the first round of the playoffs, there's a difference between playoff hockey or playoff sports than regular season hockey, regular season sports, right? You got to give them that little taste, right? And I agree. So Can they make a win-now move? That's not an all-in move. Like, I'm talking the Eagles going all in for Maxx Crosby. I don't know if there's a move like that in the NHL that can happen today, right? I wouldn't make that kind of a move for the Flyers. I'm not making an all-in, trade away parts of the future to win a cup right now. But if there's a small move you can make to tweak this team a little bit to make sure they get that taste of playoff hockey, absolutely. Absolutely agree with you on that. I don't give Josh Allen any time because he's a brat. He is a brat. But I'm not saying you. I'm saying the majority of people will say Jalen Hurts sucks and he only wins because of talent. But on the flip side, make the same excuse. Same excuse is made for Joe Burrow. Well, not Joe Burrow. Lamar Jackson. Same excuse is made all over the place in the NFL for quarterbacks that just don't win, right? Jalen Hurts just wins. But he can't get any credit for it because he's got talent. Coots ain't that good. I mean, he's not elite anymore or upper echelon anymore, but he's still a really good player. The little glimpses I've seen this year of him. Maybe brat is the wrong word. Maybe the word I'm looking for is that it dread it. No, I think you're wrong on that too. Coots ain't what he was, but he'd be able to be a solid contributor on a cup team now. Do they trade Coots? Would Coots ever get traded? Good morning, Bruce. How you doing today? Hope you're well. They're going to draft a quarterback. Not in the first 3 rounds, but they're absolutely, Mitchie Poo, going to draft a quarterback. So how would I feel if the Eagles draft a quarterback? I'd be happy with it. Because I am on the 90% likelihood that they're trading Tanner McKee. And even if they don't, they will lose Tanner McKee after this year, right? We don't have any other. Really, right now, the Eagles have Jalen Hurts and Tanner McKee. No other quarterbacks on their roster right now. I don't think they even have anybody on the practice squad right now. So you have to draft a quarterback. You got to draft your quarterback 2 in the future. But you're not doing it in rounds 1, 2, or 3. This draft class of quarterbacks is terrible. There's going to get whoever the Eagles draft in the 5th or 6th round probably shouldn't even be drafted. It's a weak quarterback class. Okay? Anybody seen what Gutierrez is Cutter's doing? I can never say Cutter's last name. That will go down as one of the all-time flubs in Philly sports history. Horribly misplayed. Well, didn't he want out? Like, you had no choice there, right? Like, he refused to play here, right? So I don't know what else they could have done there in that situation, personally speaking. Or in my opinion. So, yeah, I don't know what else they could have done there. Anyway, there's a difference between going all in. Oh, there's no way Jalen is better than McNabb. Stop. Jalen Hurts is way better already through 5 years as a start, 5 years in the NFL than McNabb was in his entire career. You want to talk about a brat? Talk about Donovan McNabb. Donovan McNabb wants talent around him. You gave him, arguably at the time, the best wide receiver in football. And you run him out of town? Because he's becoming more popular than you? More talented than you? No way! Flyers could have let him play after his freshman year. Would have stayed if they brought him to the big club right away. You know, I get it. We don't underrate McNabb. McNabb is the second best quarterback in Eagles history, behind Hurts now. Okay? He is. You're talking to one of the biggest Don McNabb guys in Philadelphia right here, okay? Love Don McNabb as a player, okay? Now, it's been easier to criticize McNabb because since his playing career ended, he became such an a-hole in the media and to the fans out there. But I always stood on solid ground with McNabb. The same reason why I love Jalen Hurts is why I really liked McNabb, because despite not winning a Super Bowl, he won a lot of games for us, right? He got us to 4 championship games, right? He got us to first Super Bowl that I was alive for, okay? So McNabb is a great quarterback, one of the best in Eagles history, a borderline Hall of Famer. Some say he should, some say he shouldn't, okay? Talk about Philly flubs, the T.O. situation, another. Look, and I'm willing to admit it. See, there's the thing. I'm willing to admit my mistakes. I took Donovan's side in that during it while it was happening. Now I know. I don't think T.O. was totally wrong. He might have handled the situation wrong. Classic diva wide receiver. Similar to A.J. Brown. Maybe A.J. Brown just handles the situation wrong. Doesn't take away from the talent. McNabb with this group of Eagles has multiple rings. I do not agree with that. Phil, what's your top 5 mismanaged situations of Philly sports history? My God. That takes a long time to break that down. T.O. is on that list. For sure. Cutter probably makes that list. Giving Chip Kelly player personnel, decision-making, responsibilities might make that list. Trading away Cliff Lee just to bring him back anyway. That was a mismanaged situation there. I don't know if that makes the top 5 or not, but maybe it does. I'm trying to think of what else I could put on this mismanaged situation. I'm trying to really rack my brain over the last 30 or so years. Choosing Brett Brown over Jimmy Butler, massive mistake right there. Massive mismanaged situation. That whole postseason or post-time after that season, when you chose Brett Brown, you let Jimmy Butler walk, you gave Tobias Harris the max contract, that would probably be top 2 or 3 all time, right? Probably. I like the Rick Tockett question. My observation of Tockett while I watched Flyers games a few games back was that I got the vibe that he's not the answer long term. Hurts versus McNabb, 5. Ryan Sandberg both times. I could agree with that for sure. Should never have traded him away as a player. Should never have hired him as a manager. I don't know about Moses Malone. The only reason why I would disagree with McNabb having multiple rings with this group is because he's who the head coach is. No, I just don't. I think this team. I think McNabb's personality. We talked earlier in the show about cracks starting to form in the foundation. Jalen Hurts is like Spider-Man on that train in Spider-Man 1, trying to slow that train down with every ounce of possibility. He's trying to keep the train from falling off the tracks. McNabb would have pushed the train off the tracks to keep the focus on him. That's the difference. The difference between McNabb and Hurts, McNabb might have been the better pure quarterback, maybe. Barely, but maybe. But the intangibles, McNabb had 0 of, okay? J.D. Drew horribly mismanaged. He said he wouldn't play here, and they still drafted him. I was at the battery game, by the way, with the Cardinals. I didn't throw batteries, but I was there. Yeah, I don't know who else was available at that. I'm going to write that down. I'm curious who else we could have drafted instead of J.D. Drew. I'm curious, but yeah. Absolutely, Rick. The Flyers team looked lifeless yesterday in a game they absolutely needed. Yeah, I didn't watch any of that. Watching reruns of NCIS New Orleans and reruns of The Flash last night. Yeah, that's the life of a temporary bachelor at home with his wife at my sister's house watching the kids. Jalen Hurts is like Spider-Man if he never got hit by the spider, but thought he did. Stop. I thought I had a great comparison. I thought I had a great analogy there. Spider-Man's trying to keep or you can go with the Tom Holland Spider-Man, trying to hold the boat together, right? With every ounce. The boat's cracked. He's holding it together. Don McNabb, he's just pushing it aside. Yeah, look, again, I wasn't watching it. The trading of Mikal Bridges on draft night was a huge mistake. Was it a bit mismanaged situation? Man, I think the biggest mismanagement in that whole situation was letting his mom go on TV and do press about how excited she was that Mikal was going to Philly, and then trading him 10 seconds later. Like, you knew that was happening. You should have stopped her from going on TV. That was the biggest mismanagement part of that. Obviously, they should have kept him. He was the better player. Obviously, Zahir Smith, or whatever his name was, I can't even remember what his full first name was. Obviously, that was a bad decision there. But that wouldn't be. I think the optics of that situation was just awful. McNabb has created a personality for Philadelphia to not be hated. I think if he was just himself a bit of an ass, he would have won that Super Bowl. He cared too much about his rep and not enough about game day. I agree. Always goofing. I mean, I remember when T.O. first got to Philly, all the press work, the two of them goofing, joking, laughing. Now you look back and you realize it was all fake, right? Sixers caught with their pants down on that draft night by making Brett Brown for GM for a night. Yeah, look, the whole entire Brett Brown era was mismanaged here for sure. Things were a lot different in the early 2000s. No way Jalen survives the other. Well, you didn't say that, okay? Football was different in the early 2000s, right? The entire era of sports was different back then. Let me tell you something. The biggest reason that I think, well, not the biggest. The biggest is his intangibles. I don't think McNabb would be able to hold a cracking foundation like the Eagles might have together. But social media wasn't around back then. You give Don McNabb Instagram and Twitter today as a player, he ain't being quiet in the A.J. Brown situation. He's tweeting cryptic shit out. He's posting pictures of something that's going to stir the pot. In the clickbait era of social media, right now, Don McNabb would have been a disaster. Insert whoever you think the best quarterback ever is, and even if they aren't winning with the wide receiver rooms that McNabb had. I don't know if that's true or not. Game 6 in 93 World Series horribly mismanaged. Yeah, Tommy Green should have been in there. I love Tommy Green. Tommy Green's one of the best. Good morning, Eagles fan. How you doing? We're all over the place today. Well, we got about 15, 20 minutes left today. Let's bring it full circle. Let's keep the conversation going. All in. Maxx Crosby, yes or no? Yes or no? It's a very simple question. McNabb on social media would have been an unmitigated disaster. Exactly. That's why he wouldn't have succeeded. Although it would have been great for the show. It would have been great for content. My God. Even sports talk radio now is all clickbait, right? And we bash WIP and the fanny packs and whatnot all the time, right? And the Miami Joneses, the Skip Bayless of the world. Back then, sports talk was different. McNabb in social media right now would have been a disaster. McNabb in rage-baiting radio would have been a disaster. McNabb was not, just like you don't think Jalen could have survived the style of football of the early 2000s, which I'd have to think about that. I don't know if I agree or not. McNabb wouldn't have survived just the world era of this time frame of football. All right? I think Hurts would have been okay in the 2000s. I know Mahomes wouldn't have survived. Quarterback was an open season back in the day. Yeah, I think for the most part, Jalen Hurts knows how to protect himself for the most part. Someone like Mahomes, yeah. Mahomes wouldn't have been getting those flags thrown when he's stepping out of bounds like he does. You could fart on Patrick Mahomes and get a personal foul now. That wouldn't have happened back in the day, right? Not pitching Jay Happ. I totally forgot about Jay Happ, man. He had some clutch moments in the early parts of those runs there to the World Series and playoffs. He was a good quality lefty, man. I shouldn't say good quality lefty. He had a good quality run for a short period of time. On a more positive side, Phil, what are your top 5 well-managed situations in Phillies history? Start 2018 Super Bowl. Doug did it all. Did an absolute masterpiece. All right, so I'm not going to say that then. 5 well-managed situations. Man. I don't know. I got to think about that one, too. There's not really much with the Sixers I could say is well-managed. If you say 2018, I could say 2024 Eagles as well, and Nick Sirianni pulling all the right plugs. I could say 2022 Phillies, I guess, for half a year. Moving on from Joe Girardi for Rob Thompson at that moment was great, and he got lucky. Every string he pulled was right. I don't really think of anything Sixers related was well managed over the last 25 years or so. Man, it's harder to find positive, well-managed situations because our city's been ripe with failures way more than successes. And I don't think a well-managed situation has to be a title, so to speak. A well-managed situation was moving on from Carson Wentz finally at the right time. right? Moving on from Doug Peterson at the right time. Both well-managed situations. Moving on from Chip Kelly really quickly and putting Howie back in charge. Well-managed situation. Promoting Rob Thompson, well-managed. Poorly managed, keeping him past his expiration date. Bringing in Pat Gillick to get the Philadelphia Phillies over the hump in 2008. Well-managed situation. So I think Phillies and Eagles have a more of the well-managed situations. McNabb tried way too hard to be funny, yet he wasn't. He just came off as a dope. Everyone came down to McNabb the same way they've come down on Sirianni. Pointed the blame on one or two guys. Let's forget the drop balls. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree with you on that. Hurt's a pretty tough dude. He'd survive in all areas of football. I think toughness-wise, he would have, yeah. I think McNabb would have failed. I think I'm right in saying McNabb in this era of social media and personalities and cancel culture and rage bait and everything, McNabb would have failed big time. Big time. Toughness has nothing to do with it back then. They were all tough. And that's a fair way to say it. Dallas Green, well-managed, although Gary Maddox would disagree. Yeah, Topper did push a lot of right 20. He pushed a lot of buttons right last year, too, until the playoffs came. And then Rob Thompson hit the wrong buttons again. But he pushed a lot. Every day I would sit here and say, in 2022, I was doing this show. Every day I'd say, when's Joe Girardi getting fired? And he does. And every day I'm like, when's Rob Thompson when is he going to make one of these boneheaded decisions that's going to backfire? And until the World Series, none of those boneheaded decisions backfired. Would moving on from AJ be considered well managed? A, you wouldn't be able to determine that until the draft picks, until we knew what the draft pick's success was, right? Even if you got 5 first-round picks and you miss on all 5 first-round picks, then no, it's not well managed. If you move on from A.J. Brown and the picks work out great, then yeah. Knowing the answer to this question, Rick, you would have to wait to look back on it in hindsight 5 years down the line. You wouldn't be able to determine that in 1 year, right? Even if we moved on from him and won the Super Bowl next year, it'd be hard to say. Mike Keene in 1985, he got a bunch of youngins to the Cup. Yeah, I was 4 then, 5 then. Well managed would be able to keep AJ and get him in to play his game. Getting rid of him is just mitigating the situation. I like that. I like that answer to Rick's question. Getting him to stay and be a team player would be well managing the situation. Getting rid of him would be. Look at this. Hold on. I think that one. When I play effects, can you guys hear the effects? I don't do them often, but I have a whole board full of them. McNabb would have failed today in a PR sense. Would be a top. I don't think he would be a top 5. He might be McNabb's prime in today's NFL. Would he be a top 10? I don't know. I think McNabb would have a lot of Dak Prescott level seasons, maybe. Put up numbers, not succeed. I don't know. He'd be in that 9 to 12 range today, I think. Kind of feel like McNabb, feel bad for McNabb, as 99 draft night scared him deeply and that's why he would fail today, because he was soft and weak up here, right? And maybe let me pivot here. Let me pivot here on this McNabb Hurts conversation. McNabb was scared, right? Or scarred or hurt in 99 on draft night, right? And we're talking about how he'd be a disaster with this era of social media and rage baiting and all, right? Being mentally unstable or mental health awareness. We'll just use it. We'll go broader. Mental health awareness was frowned upon back then, right? If you had a mental health issue, you couldn't seek help. You'd be looked down upon, right? So McNabb now might be able to speak out and be like, look, I'm hurting. I need help, right? Nobody looks down on, Lane Johnson is less tough of a person because of his mental health. No one looks down on A.J. Brown because he wears check on your teammates shirts and talks about mental health awareness as well all the time. But back then it was different times, right? Mismanaged Cole Hamels himself in 2009. Yeah, look, I mean, Aaron Nola was a bigger disaster last year than Nolan 09. But I'm hoping Aaron Nola has a Cole Hamels 2010 bounce back. Holding on to Tortorella too long was a horrible mismanagement. Yeah, look, I didn't like to hire Tortorella to begin with. I didn't think he would last as long as he did. But yeah, he probably had to go a little sooner than he did. No way from the start of this myth, Crosby isn't coming to Philly. Isn't the same as should he, okay? Is he or isn't he? Is not the same as should or shouldn't he, okay? There's a difference between that, okay? He's probably not coming here. You're probably right. He probably won't come to Philly, right? But should he? I'd say he probably should. Leopards don't change their spots. AJ's MO is selfishness to the point of destruction. And I get that. And I understand your philosophy. It still does not make trading him as easy as you want it to be. Disagree. I think McNabb's archetype fits perfectly in today's game. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think personality-wise he could have survived here. Same with Vic. I don't know. Every quarterback came in here as a high draft has to live with the that affected them. The ISMs? What? Isms. Oh, the isms. I got what you're saying. I'm okay if they pass on Crosby but sign Phillips. What if they pass on Crosby, pass on Phillips? See, here's the thing. I feel like you have to get one or the other. Or Trey Hendrickson. Or even bigger, bolder, go get Myles Garrett. Because if you don't get any of these guys, we're back to where we were last year. Hunt, Smith, Uche, Ojulari. Now, Uche, Ojulari aren't on our team, but those types. If you don't get Crosby or Phillips or anybody else, is Hendrickson's a free agent, straight up free agent right now. He's gonna have if Danielle Hunter got $40 million, Hendrickson's gonna get $30 to $40 million. He's gonna sign a 4-year, $130, $140 million deal somewhere. Absolutely. That won't be the Eagles, though, right? Hendrickson being an unrestricted free agent helps us retain Phillips to an extent, but also might drive the price up on Phillips if somebody gets pissed that they've missed out on Hendrickson. Almost every elite wide receiver becomes a problem and doesn't stay with a team long. Also, elite wide receivers don't make it very far successfully into their third contract. A.J. Brown's about to enter that third contract, that extension he signed last offseason. He's 28, 29 years old. Look at somebody like DeAndre Hopkins, how quickly he fell off a cliff. I know he's a free agent, but is there a chance? Oh, that. Okay. No, probably not. I think if they're barely holding on to the fact that they can maybe sign somebody like Jaelan Phillips, they probably can't sign somebody like Trey Hendrickson, who's going to fetch even more money. What can Jalen do that Michael Vick couldn't? Stay out of jail. I mean, I think that's a pretty easy answer right there. Obey the law. Look, that was a bad joke, okay? My apologies. Look, Michael Vick, before the Eagles, was a different quarterback than Michael Vick with the Eagles. Yeah, win in the playoffs? Okay, so don't make the jokes. We can just do that, win in the playoffs. Yeah, I don't know. Didn't have the intangibles. I don't think when you criticize or don't criticize Jalen Hurts, I don't think people understand how much intangibles matter at the quarterback position. You've got to be a winner. You've got to have a winning personality. You've got to have the ability to manage everybody. Being a great quarterback isn't just throwing a great deep ball or being athletic. Being a great quarterback means so much more. Knowing now we need to pivot and draft an O-lineman style of the new coach, are you absolutely set on drafting offensive tackle in first round, even if Sadiq is there at 23? See, I was. And then I listened to somebody I respect, Brian Baldinger, okay, say that this offensive line draft class isn't as strong. There's a lot of players, but it's not a lot of strong players, that I worry that we waste that first round pick on someone that can't even come close to filling in Lane Johnson's shoes. So when I hear Brian Baldinger talk, then I'm like, Shit. Maybe I'm changing my opinion, right? So I don't know. Racism, sexism, elitism, not coming from an elite program, mature. Yeah, I agree. Be a better teammate, play within the system, compliment his teammates, call the right audibles, watch film. All things that Jalen Hurts does very well, right? If you haven't read the Brooks Cabina piece on The Athletic about Jalen Hurts and his willingness, I really strongly recommend everybody read it. Because I think it's a big piece of what went wrong last year, but also what makes Jalen Hurts such a great quarterback. Willingness to do it, being the coach's son, not questioning a quarterback. But to really get the most out of Jalen Hurts, you've got to communicate the whys to him the most. So he understands the whys, so he can, make it work the best way possible. Kyler Murray is not the guy. No, not at all. Kyler Murray's going to get paid. He's going to get a chance to start and be built around again. But he's going to fail. Knowing the slide to avoid injury and be available. Yeah, that's the thing. Wasn't Vic the one that they sent him to like spring training for a day to learn how to slide with the Phillies or something? Donovan would definitely be a Lamar in today's game. Lamar is head and shoulders way better than McNabb ever was. Phil, what's on your beer menu for the weekend? I got 3 kids with me all weekend that I got to entertain. There ain't not much drinking at all. Maybe a shot of tequila when I get home to settle the nerves, and that's it. Well, there ain't much drinking or anything or partaking in anything this weekend. When you got to entertain a bunch of kids. Luckily, I've only had them a couple hours each day. My wife's doing the majority of the work, getting the last couple of days with this show, but I'll have a little bit more today and tomorrow. So, yeah, ain't much drinking going on. Although my brother, I don't remember what it's called. My brother-in-law, he told me I could tap into his liquor cabinet if I wanted to when I'm there. He's got this bottle of gin that he got as a gift. It's very expensive, delicious tasting. I might have to crack into some of that gin tonight, maybe. What's up, Kevin? How are we doing today? Thank you very much. We hit it a little while ago. We kind of hit a little stalemate. We were gaining at a certain level, and it's kind of plateaued. But, hey, I appreciate it. Let's get this subscriber number up, guys. I'm setting a bold goal of 2,000 by kickoff week 1. That's a huge goal. Let's do it. You know what I mean? It's weird, I love my nieces and nephews, all of them. My sister's got 3 kids that we're watching. I'm a great uncle. I'm great in small doses with them. When you got them for long periods of time, when you don't have kids and you're in your late 40s, and then you got to spend a long stretch with them in charge. I made my 4-year-old nephew bawl his eyes out the other day. He was sick. He had to take his medicine. He wouldn't take it. He was throwing a hissy fit. So I put my foot down, and boy, did the waterworks come out. I was not used to that, okay? Not used to that at all. Can't wait for free agency kickoff. I think it's going to be a wild one. I do too, Soldier Steve. I think it's going to be a wild free agency. I think you're going to see crazy things happen, not just with the Eagles, all across the NFL. You've already seen trades. You've already seen extensions. There's so many big names that could be on the move. Next week, wild week. Wild. That's fair, but so is the fact that Vic could throw over the middle without soiling himself. Jalen Hurts can too. Is he asked to? The question is he asked to? Because when he does, if you look at the analytics, he doesn't do it often, but the analytics say he is very successful when he does. Hurts will not argue with the structure in place. He will say he doesn't like it, but he won't push back because that is a chain of command. I am sure that after that sideline thing, Jeffrey and Howie had a talk. I agree. You as well have a great weekend, Rick. I can't wait to come back on Monday morning. Hurts is a coach's son and will follow orders. I'm guessing he wasn't asked to run most of the season because on planned run he did as asked. I agree. And that's you really got to read the Brooks Cabina Athletic Eagles article. Came out Monday or Tuesday. Really dove deep into all this. And I think it's really interesting. Exactly. Now, the reason why Kevin Petula failed in this article wasn't because of it was because he didn't explain his ideas well enough, right? He didn't explain the whys well enough, right? Or this is why we're doing this, okay? Kevin Petula just said, we're doing this. And if Hurts is like, I don't know about that. Like, look at the last play of the year. When he looked at Hurts or Sirianni, he's like, that was the first time he questioned it. Hurts better be successful with who he has throwing. Okay. But, again, Josh Allen, gets a pass because he's not successful because he has no one to throw to. I can't wait. All the people saying Josh Allen got a number one receiver in DJ Moore. When the Bills lose in the first round of the playoffs next year, oh, well, DJ Moore was never really truly a number one wide receiver. He still doesn't have a real true elite. They should have gotten A.J. Brown instead, and then he would have won. What's the excuse going to be for Josh Allen next year? Anyway, another 90 minutes of my day is done. Another 90 minutes of my life spent with you guys over. The 90 minutes I can't get back in my life, despite the truth seeker telling me I'm an idiot, basically, because you heard 1 second of a 5-minute conversation. But you know what? F him. Everybody have a great weekend. Like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend this weekend. It does. It does because it's a double standard. Okay? 100%. But anyway, with that being said, I got to wrap this up. I got to get going. I got to get on my way with the day. So with that being said, y'all have a great weekend. Be well. Be good. It's going to warm up this weekend, which is beautiful. I can't wait. Just passing thought, McNabb's Smitty was Pinkston, and Hurts' Todd Pinkston is Smith. It's a weird thought, but now I'm going to think about that. Anyway, everybody have a great day, all right? Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy it. Arnold Palmer Invitational this weekend. Love the API. Everybody have a great day, guys. Go Birds. Enjoy your weekend, and bubbles up.